This footage captures the terrifying moment. A tornado starts forming in the field. Watch as the swirling winds gain strength, pulling up dust and debris while rapidly growing in size. A sudden flood burst into the living house, leaving the residents in shock. Water rushed in rapidly, submerging furniture and forcing people to scramble for safety. A sudden landslide crashed onto the road as cars were driving through. Vehicles came to a screeching halt as rocks and debris tumbled down, creating a terrifying and chaotic scene. Due to extremely high winds, this bus lost stability and collapsed onto its side. Witnesses were shocked as the powerful gusts pushed it over, creating a chaotic and dangerous moment. Due to heavy rain, floodwaters rushed into the village, completely submerging the goat farm. Farmers struggled to rescue their animals as the rising water took over the entire area. Due to intense winds, this car is being swept off the road, barely maintaining balance as the storm rages on. Due to relentless heavy rain, this building is slowly collapsing, with walls crumbling and debris falling all around. Out of nowhere, a sudden landslide comes crashing down, slamming into parked cars and wiping them out in seconds. Due to the earthquake, the water in the pool starts shaking violently, creating powerful waves that spill over the edges. A massive landslide crashes onto the road, burying everything in its path. Huge rocks and debris tumble down, leaving vehicles stranded and blocking the entire route. A massive tsunami surges into the city, swallowing roads and sweeping away cars in its unstoppable force. A massive landslide crashes down the hillside, burying the house beneath tons of rock and debris. The sudden force leaves nothing but destruction in its path, as the earth gives way without warning. The floodwaters rush through the streets, effortlessly carrying cars like toys in a wild current. The sheer power of nature leaves everything in its wake, as vehicles are swept away with no chance of escape. While driving, this man caught an intense moment on camera as a massive tornado crossed the road right in front of him. A powerful sandstorm sweeps across the ocean, creating an eerie and intense scene as the sky darkens and the sands swirl over the water. The ground trembles violently as an earthquake strikes, causing houses and cars to shake uncontrollably. A massive landslide slowly transforms the landscape, turning into a cloud of dust as it cascades down the small mountain. In the middle of a stormy night, a powerful lightning strike hits a house, lighting up the sky in an instant. A massive chunk of ice breaks off from a glacier and plunges into the ocean with a thunderous crash. The sound echoes across the water as the ice splashes, creating enormous waves that ripple outwards. While ascending the mountain, this man captures the dramatic moment when a massive rock suddenly loosens from the peak and tumbles down the slope. This drone captures the terrifying sight of a massive tsunami crashing down everything in its path. The towering wave surges toward the shore with relentless power, swallowing everything in its way. As the wave crashes, it sends debris flying through the air, and buildings are obliterated within seconds. This is how flood enters the place. The water begins to rise steadily, creeping in from the outskirts. Initially, it's a slow trickle, but soon it picks up speed, filling streets, sidewalks, and low-lying areas. As the water continues to surge, it overtakes everything in its path. The water violently crashes against the wall, its immense force causing the structure to crack. Slowly, the pressure builds, and pieces of the wall begin to crumble, unable to withstand the rushing flood. As the relentless floodwaters rise, the house begins to tremble under the immense pressure. The foundation weakens, and the walls crack as the rushing current tears away at its base. The floodwaters surge with immense force, swallowing everything in their path. Streets turn into raging rivers, carrying away cars, trees, and debris. A sudden earthquake shakes the entire house, causing furniture to topple and walls to crack. The ground trembles violently as terrified residents rush outside, seeking safety. As the rocket ascends into the sky, flames trail behind, illuminating the night. Suddenly, a malfunction occurs. Sparks erupt from its body, and it begins to wobble uncontrollably. As the powerful winds howl through the area, trees begin to sway violently, their branches creaking under the pressure. Within moments, one massive tree loses its grip on the soaked earth and crashes down onto the road, blocking traffic. A massive swarm of grasshoppers takes over the field, darkening the sky as they move in unison. Within moments, they descend onto the crops, devouring everything in their path at an alarming rate. Leaves vanish, stalks are stripped bare, and the once lush farmland turns into a barren wasteland. A massive section of land slowly sinks into the rising floodwaters, swallowed inch by inch as the current erodes its foundation. A terrifying moment unfolds as a massive landslide of rocks and earth crashes down onto the road, just as a car is passing by. A strong gust of wind forces a small tree branch into a power cable, causing intense sparking and crackling. The ground trembles violently as cracks form along the Earth's surface. Suddenly, with a deafening roar, molten lava bursts forth, spewing hot ash and fiery rocks into the air. The massive ice shelf, unable to withstand its own weight, begins to crack and splinter with a thunderous sound. In a split second, the ice breaks apart, sending enormous chunks crashing down onto the bridge below. The heavy floodwaters rise relentlessly, submerging everything in their path. As the water level continues to climb, the pressure builds against the bridge's structure. Out of nowhere, the water surges with incredible force, flooding the area in an instant. It's as if the ground itself gave way, and the water pours in from every direction, rushing down the streets, filling up homes, and sweeping away anything in its path. Rocks crumble and tumble down the path, mimicking the rush of a flood. As the ground shakes, the once stable terrain disintegrates, and boulders roll in a chaotic wave, covering the road and surrounding areas. Massive ice balls fall from the sky, crashing down with incredible force. Each one seems larger than the last, creating a thunderous sound as they hit the ground. They shatter upon impact, sending shards of ice scattering in all directions. A massive chunk of ice emerges from the sea, rising slowly but steadily above the water's surface. Its sheer size and rugged texture create a breathtaking yet intimidating sight. As the massive chunks of ice break free from the mountain, they crash down onto the road below with tremendous force. The ice shatters upon impact, sending sharp fragments scattering across the path. Two massive ships, caught in a chaotic collision, slam into each other with a bone-jarring impact. The sound of grinding metal and snapping beams echoes across the water as the vessels crash, creating a violent ripple through the ocean. A sudden rock slide tumbles down the mountain as massive boulders break loose from the steep cliffside. The sound of the rocks crashing and tumbling echoes through the valley, creating a thunderous roar as they crash into the ground below. As the floodwaters rise, a massive tree is swept away by the force of the rushing water. Its roots, once deeply embedded in the soil, struggle to hold on to the ground as the water pushes it downstream. A massive section of the mountain crumbles and slides down with a deafening roar. The earth trembles as rocks, dirt, and debris break loose, cascading down the slope. Dust and rubble fill the air, obscuring everything in its path. As the massive ice sheet detaches from the glacier, it plummets into the sea with a thunderous roar. The impact sends a towering splash of water into the air, the force of which creates waves that ripple out across the water. The car is completely overwhelmed as giant snowballs, or hailstones, rain down in a heavy storm. The impact is brutal, with each large snowball smashing against the vehicle's body, cracking the windshield and denting the metal. As the tornado rapidly approaches, the driver's heart races. The sky darkens, and the air seems to thicken with tension. The powerful winds begin to howl and whip around the car, making it shake violently.